All right. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to one of my favorite people. We've known each other for a very long time, like 2010. It's like a really long time.
Yeah.
And
2008. It was 2008, girl.
oh, that's right. It was 2008. That's right.
Yep.
We met on a mission for our church. And so we saw all kinds of different sides of ourselves on our mission to we
You
really
were one
got
of the first people that I saw when I walked through the MTC door.
bawling my eyes out,
Yeah.
bawling.
And I had just like done a jump. My family was crying and I was like, see ya. And I like jumped and then went through the door and you were crying. And I was like, whoa.
And that was the president of our relationship. Very
Yeah.
emotional and like, what do I do with this emotion?
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So yeah, she's Heather Falter is one of my best friends. I've known her for a long time, and we've kind of been on a similar journey, you and I. We have really worked through learning about childhood trauma. We've learned about emotional work, and we've learned about what else, like somatic therapy, yoga. I mean, we've and health. We've all it's all been something we've been really interested in, and we share a lot of our ideas. And I wanted to bring Heather on here because we share a real interest in decluttering and minimalism. And so I wanted to talk about that today. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about the deeper meaning of decluttering, because I feel like it's very emotional when we declutter. It's not just moving physical stuff, it's moving our emotional stuff as well. So I kind of wanted to just have a conversation with you about this because I know you feel very similar about it. So tell me about your journey with discovering minimalism and decluttering and what it's done for your soul.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Um, let's see, where did it begin? Oh, it happened accidentally. Well, I guess, okay, the first time that I really was like really in tune with what was going on, it was pretty accidental. So my husband was going to build for us, and we decided that while we were building, we were going to live in a fifth wheel, a very gorgeous fifth wheel,
I
might I add.
remember. I
But
remember. I was like, man, I could never do. I don't know. Maybe I could.
I know.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, and we were like, let's maybe travel for a bit. Like we weren't set. We didn't have our land yet, but he was like, I know I want to do this. So anyway, we had like a 3,000 square foot house at the time, and we were going to downsize into a fifth wheel. And we didn't really want to have storage like we were going to get a small storage unit, but not, so
Mhm.
we started selling our stuff like crazy and going through everything
Mhm.
because we realized we have an entire basement. We don't even go down there. So, um, anyway, a friend told me about Marie Kondo, The Magic of Tidying Up.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
has shows now, like on Netflix. But at the
Mhm.
time, she just had her book, and my
Mhm.
friend was like, "You got to read this. Like, it'll help you." And anyway, so I read the book. She, talked about the spirit of things, like your socks don't want to be like folded in a ball. They don't want to be stretched out. Like, give your socks a break, and they need to breathe. And they're so much happier when they're this way. And
Uh-huh.
talking about the happiness of objects, which is totally my jam, and I just like fell in love. But I just vividly remember dropping truckloads off. Like, I'm not kidding, truckloads, trailer loads off at a donation center, and the DI was up by our house. And I remember Travis and I, as we would drive away each time, we were like it was this huge weight off of our shoulders, huge weight. Almost would bring me to tears. Like, it was that much of a pressure that I didn't even know we had. And I kept saying, I didn't know that we had this amount of pressure on our shoulders. And it was really eye-opening for us. And from there on out, I was like, I will never own that much stuff again. Um, I've made it a goal to be very minimal since then and declutter not just the house, but everything. I really like cleaning. Before that though, I have moved a lot in my life. And when it comes to the emotional aspect that you were talking about, every time I move, I declutter hardcore.
Mhm.
And every time I move into a new place, I like deep clean the place. And it to me is like super healing and symbolic of like, you are going to be my home now. And
Right.
creating a connection with the place that I'm in and just making sure it feels like home for me is super important. So
Mm.
that's a long explanation of
Oh, I could
my
go longer.
story.
I could.
I feel what else could I say?
I'm just saying,
Um,
like, that was a beautiful kind of brief explanation, actually, because I could go on for hours about, me, I'm super detailed. I'm all
yeah.
about the details. But anyway, I love that. I love that, yeah, you were kind of forced into it, but it was like a huge blessing for you. And there's been a part of me that's like, I think I would really appreciate that kind of life, like that that kind of experience, that I need to downsize that much.
Mhm.
Um, but we haven't gotten there yet. Probably because my husband is not ready for something like that.
You don't have a lot of stuff. I've been in your house. It is very minimal.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing. I discovered minimalism when I found out my children had autism.
Mm.
And also when I found out I had ADHD. As I kept researching autism and as I kept researching ADHD, I realized that when I was reading this stuff, they were saying really, really simplify your life, get rid of clutter, because clutter creates cortisol, and cortisol, obviously makes you more stressed, and it stresses out your kids, especially those that are super sensitive to things, right? And their environment. And so for myself, for my sanity, and also for my children, I felt strongly that I needed to really, cut down on the stuff that we have, the toys and things. And like, they have nothing in their room. They have nothing in the room. It's kind of like a motel or a hotel in there. And the reason I do that is because when they're like in meltdown mode or something like that, they need to have no visual stimulation whatsoever for them to just calm down. And I realized for me, with my ADHD, when I have less stuff and I have less clutter, then I am not as distracted and my symptoms aren't as strong. So
Mm.
that's how I discovered it. And I discovered it through The Minimalist. Have you heard of The Minimalist?
Yeah, the Netflix minimalist.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think they are fantastic. There's two guys that we're, friends for forever, kind of our story. And they had similar life experiences where life just kind of, they got to a point they're like, is this what all life is? And then they just totally changed that around. And I don't know if you listen to their podcast, it's fantastic. And so I actually got into it, well, researching from ADHD and autism, but then I just, while I'm researching, I found their YouTube channel and I've been obsessed with them. And I'm looking around my house now and I'm like, man, I need to pare down again.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, it's amazing how you've cut down so much, but then if you're not super clear to yourself and your family about boundaries, about what you're allowing to come in, it's amazing how fast you'll just start accruing stuff, especially with kids.
Yeah, because I mean, they have birthdays and you have Christmas. I mean, like we like to spoil them. I mean, we don't buy near as much as some, but we like
Mhm.
to buy them gifts and their grandparents love to buy them gifts and
Yes. Yes.
Christmas and then it's just yeah, a lot. It you have to really care to go through it and to get rid of stuff or else it will just keep piling up.
I know.
Well, and even I could blame the kids, but even me, like we're super into gardening right now. And I'm like, how many sprayer nozzles do we have? How many hoses do we have?
Right.
Like seriously,
Right.
but I feel like they all have a purpose. So but
Yeah.
I recognize that, I get a lot of plants. That's weakness of mine. I have a lot of plants in the house. I mean, not a lot, like it's not like crazy, but I
Mhm.
like plants.
And you keep them all alive.
Oh yeah. I love them. Well, okay.
That's very good.
I'm gonna disclaim. This is a little side note, but
Okay.
I stayed. Our family, while we were renting during the winter months, we would stay with some friends. They were like snowbirds. They'd go live in St. George, and we stayed in
Mhm.
there during the winter because it was freezing in
Mhm.
Idaho. And my only job was to make sure her plants stayed alive. I killed every single plant. I killed every plant of hers, and I felt so guilty. I was like, I will learn how to keep plants alive. And since then, that has been my mission, and I have done rather well. I feel
You
that I
have.
should probably buy her some plants now. As yeah, but anyway, now I'm obsessed, and now I really love plants, and I I like that they keep the air clean and kind of help the house feel more clean and fresh.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally.
Mm.
I have one house plant,
Mm.
and here it is. It's my snake plant.
Oh, it's a cute little baby. Hi,
And
baby.
the reason I have one plant is because I have 3 children and I need to keep them alive. And I know you have children too, but mine does have a lot of needs. And I know snake plants you can't kill. So
Yeah, I think I've killed one of those too, but yeah, they do pretty good.
they're pretty hardy.
Let's see.
I don't think I've watered it recently, but it
This one
seems to be my shower's just across the way. And so I think that they pick up water from the shower because it's still alive. I don't water it very much.
Oh,
So yeah, I see your little plant right there. So
yeah.
I mean, and that's part of like decluttering too. Like this is something, well, I actually had one question for you and then we can get into how you fill the space that you create. So I know you wrote a book called Becoming Whole, right?
Yes.
Right.
Becoming home.
Did you write the book after the downsizing?
Yeah, I wrote that book in the fifth wheel.
Oh, you wrote the book in the fifth wheel.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I didn't know that. Oh,
On
wow.
my bed. That was my office.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you feel like letting go of all that stuff was actually a way of making room for time for that book and space for the emotional work that had to happen to write it?
Ooh. I don't think I had maybe put that together at the time, but yeah, absolutely. My husband and I, when we were in the fifth wheel, we kept saying like, this is the best we've ever lived. It was so fun and so free. Like, we would go park up in Idaho, there's the Snake River. So we'd go park like literally by the Snake River, like you'd open the windows and there's the river. It looked like at a beach house, but it was just our fifth wheel on the river. And we would like just cook over the fire. Like, we didn't, it was just so chill. And we were outside a lot and just enjoying each other's company. And there was like no mental clutter really. We didn't necessarily have a plan. We were just kind of whatever happens. The kids just played. Like we just sat on the little like porch for hours sometimes, especially at night watching the fire. I mean, we were just so carefree. There was no lawn to take care of. There was really no like bills like utilities or anything. It was just anyway. So I am sure having a few months of that, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have this idea of a book, and just started
Uh-huh.
writing it. And it, yeah, having the kids just playing outside all day, just sit there with my laptop. And yeah, it was probably very much related now that you say that. So,
Yeah. Because I know when I declutter, emotions come up for me, like pretty much all the time. And especially if I'm doing like a big haul, I'll have a lot like more intense emotions come up. So I've definitely noticed a pattern with that. But something else I've noticed about myself, and maybe you disagree, but one day I just like was downstairs and the kids were being crazy. And I was downstairs and I was looking around at all of this stuff. And I just broke down in tears and I said, this is all my fault because I didn't have boundaries. And I was actually struggling with emotional boundaries at that time. And so, and I'm decluttering my house slowly but surely because I have small children. And sometimes you just have to do like 15 minutes a day. Like you just consistently 15 minutes a day. That's what I got. And I realized that for me, there was kind of a parallel between the emotional boundaries that I had, which were poor with people, and the stuff I've taken on from them and their problems, and then the stuff that I'm allowing in my home and other people's stuff that I'm allowing in my home. And then I'm just looking at it and saying, like, this is all my fault. Like I did this to myself. Like I can sit and complain that it's other people's stuff and they're not coming to get it, but I allowed it in my space. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Do you kind of feel like there's parallel between emotional boundaries and how we govern our stuff?
I'm sure. I mean, I'm just loving the idea of it from you. I don't, yeah. I mean, I guess it makes total sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like you feel like when your kids were melting down, that it was related to the clutter and the clutter was related to you not telling people like, come get your stuff. Is that kind of what you're saying? So you
Well,
had other
yeah.
people's
And then
stuff in your
just,
house or?
yeah. And just like, just the, just the idea that I have had poor emotional boundaries and I'm working through that. That's what I've been working on. I've had poor emotional boundaries because I'm a people pleaser. Or recovering people pleaser. I don't know. I'm working on it. But I've allowed people to kind of just say, like, to throw their stuff on me and I'll take responsibility for it.
Mm.
And then I'm kind of looking at all this stuff and like it's other people's stuff that they've left in my house um or it's like stuff I'll say, oh, I'll just take it for you and hold it for you or whatever. And then I get kind of like frustrated that I have all this extra stuff, but I said, here, I'll take your stuff. Like, and like
Yeah.
with kids too, I noticed that I was kind of doing the same thing. Like, I know you're young, you don't know how to take care of your stuff, but their stuff all of a sudden now becomes my stuff. And so now it's just like growing and growing and growing. And I'm talking about physical stuff, yes, like all of their, gosh, kids have so much clutter, but all their emotional stuff too. I noticed that I wasn't really teaching them how to process their own like physical stuff as well as their emotional stuff. And I was just saying, don't worry, I'll take it, I'll process it, I'll process it, I'll process it. Before I know it, I'm just processing their stuff and all my stuff is just like being completely ignored.
Mm.
And so I had that kind of realization. So I don't know if you've had a similar realization.
So I haven't necessarily in my life, I'll say, that I I feel like I probably have more poor emotional boundaries than I do with like I don't notice a lot of other people's stuff in my house, I will
That's
say.
good.
Um, but my mom loves to buy the kids stuff and she loves to buy kitchen stuff. So she'll like buy the cutest stuff, like the little mini waffle makers and the little
Mhm.
mini crock pot. And I'm like, Mom, I don't need this. But she just wants to buy it. So that's the only thing coming to my mind right now of like I don't want a mini waffle maker. I don't want a mini crock pot. It's like this big.
Oh, cute.
But my daughter uses it for like putting chocolate in and dipping strawberries and stuff. And so there are things where I'm just like, fine, it's fine. This is going to be the way that I see a lot of things. And I think I did learn this from Marie Kondo, but I'm just like, well, it will serve its purpose. So I ask my daughter a lot, this is how I kind of teach my kids is like, has it served its purpose? And some things are just the joy of receiving, like all the dollar store crap that kids get for Easter or whatever.
Oh,
From
right.
their
Yeah,
grandparents.
totally.
I'm like, okay, the joy of receiving and the joy of having it for that day and maybe playing with it. I'm like, did it serve its purpose? Like, do you feel like you're going to come back to this toy later? Like, do you guys want to play with this again? And if they're like, nah, like they had fun with it, all those like little wood things that people like the kids paint or whatever. A lot of times my kids are like, no, like we're done with it. And instead of holding on to it, because I'm like, oh, you just got this yesterday. Like, I feel bad. Instead of that, I'm like, if it served its purpose, then we can say goodbye. Like, thank you, goodbye. Whether that's donating it, giving it to a friend, giving it to the garbage can. Like, if it served its purpose, some things, their purpose was just for that day and that moment and the joy of it. And some things, you'll enjoy for, I'm sure my daughter will enjoy the little chocolate dipping dumb thing for a year or two. And then I'll ask her, when she's 11, I'll ask her like, has this served its purpose? And I'm sure that we'll probably end up donating it. But I just allow some of that stuff because I'm like, life is life and there is a spot for it. I can stick it in the cupboard. But yeah, I'm trying to think with like all the kids stuff. I really do give them a lot of ownership over what they have. And since we have lived so minimally, like when we lived in the RV, I would give them like those fabric boxes. Like we had the bigger ones that were in their little toy area. And I was like, you each get, I think it was 4, like that. We had a lot of storage in that place and it was fine. So I'm like, if you can bring whatever you want. And my kids really take a lot of ownership over their stuff, and they'll even go through their things now and be like, Mom, I'm ready to donate this or whatever.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah. I like to give them that, like, they feel like that's their stuff and that's their space. And I just kind of teach them the principles and then let them decide for themselves. So, yeah.
And it sounds like you do that emotionally too, that you are like a support to them, but you let them own their own emotions and their own stuff. Oh,
that is true.
How inspiring. I love that. I love that so much. I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to figure out, because like I said, autism and big emotions, and they need a lot of co-regulating. But it's really important. It's really important for them to have their box of physical stuff to have ownership of, and their own, and then their own emotional stuff, It's just that's just how I see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think also like something that I really like to share with people, the Marie Kondo like idea of sparking joy. Like I teach them that, not just with the home, with the clutter, whatever. I'm like, what brings you joy? Like whatever that is, you get to do it. You get to follow that. What possessions do you have that make you feel fully alive? I talk about this in my book quite a bit. It's like, what makes you feel like you? What makes you feel like almost like, and I see that a lot in my daughter, and whenever she does it, I'm like, I follow that, like whatever it is. And so the physical goes right along with emotional for sure.
So you're an artist. I'm an artist. I love making art. My kids do, especially my oldest Kai. He loves making art. But what do you do with all of the art projects? That's the thing, is that he's got like a mountain of, creations he has, that I'm just like, we can't hold on to all of this. So how do you handle that?
Oh, that's such a good question. So we have file, like a filing cabinet, and the
Mhm.
kids both have a file. So if I'm like, oh, I love this. Like she drew a picture once of me and I looked like I was on fire. And
Oh my
Travis was
gosh, he
like
would love that.
this little, she drew a picture of me and Travis, and I was like on fire. And Travis, he looked like a little, like, what did I call him? Like a happy little marshmallow. He's just a square, like, and I
You were
cherish
toasting
that.
his marshmallow.
I must have been.
I love it.
Yeah, so
Oh my
like
gosh, that's
there
so
are
funny.
some things that I'm like, I can't get rid of this. I will love it forever. And so those type of things, if it's paintings or whatever, I keep them in just a file. And it's a small file, honestly. Um, a lot of times I'm like, did this serve its purpose? Like me and Avi, even we painted like, it's not giant, but like 16 by 20s, two of them matching for her room. We spent a ton of time on them. They were pictures of her kitty, whatever. We got done and we were like, I don't want to, like, we both were like, it wasn't what we thought it would be. We didn't like them. They weren't that pretty. I put them
Uh-huh.
in the top of our closet, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to like throw them away. We throw a lot of stuff away. And
Mhm.
I hope that I don't regret that later, but I really, okay. My mom gave me a box of all of my stuff from when, kindergarten, like old, I'm like, Mom, what am I going
What
to
am I
do with
gonna do with
this?
it? Yes!
I
We all
hate
get those boxes.
I hate it. I'm like, I don't want this. I'm never going to look at it. The things that matter to me are pictures. I really cherish pictures. In fact, I have a picture of me as a little girl in my bathroom right now. I'm going to tell
Oh,
you about it. I should take you over there, but
so
it's
cute.
me trying to make toast and I dropped the entire thing of butter on the ground and I'm just like standing over like this giant mess. And I even wrote on my mirror, like, keep making that toast, girl. Like, so I have a strong love and connection to pictures. I'm so
Mhm.
grateful that I have some of those. I don't have a lot, but I have some from when I was a little kid. But I'm
Mhm.
thinking like that's the stuff that matters to me. I don't care about maybe I like 2 or 3 pictures I remember of art that I'm like, oh, that was cute, but
Mhm.
I think that file is really going to be all that I keep for them. And that, sorry, I have a little bit of a cold.
You're fine. I'll do it too. If
So,
it makes you feel better.
no, I'm like seeing my water over there. Like, do I want to go get it?
Go get your water. That's
Okay.
fine. Go get your water, you silly woman. Here, I'll
I
get
mean,
my water too so that you feel better.
it's not water, it's tea, but I'll drink it.
Oh, very nice. I had my
Um,
tea already. Raspberry leaf.
this is like,
Mm, this water's been there a while.
this actually is Travis's. It was on his nightstand. I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna take it.
The other thing, I do have
Mm.
like a little, it's probably this size bin in our little craft
Mhm.
supply closet, whatever. And my kids love doing melty beads. They love doing like bracelets. They love doing
Mhm.
little beads where you make like lizards on a keychain.
Yeah,
Old school stuff. That's the stuff I buy them and like do with them.
I love that.
But when they finish them, I put them in there. And then I told them, like, you guys can sell these like on the corner or like, what do you want to do with them? Because they don't
Mhm.
use them. Like, it's just kind of clutter. And so I just keep them there. And then they've done like lemonade stands and they've sold some of their art. I'm going to be selling my art at a farmer's market. So I'm like, if you guys want to sell any of your crafts, like sell them at the farmer's market while I'm at my booth.
Oh, I love that.
So that's an idea. And then honestly, I am not kidding. I throw so much stuff away. If they leave it out, I don't say like, listen, you've left this out 3 times. Like, I'm not going to keep putting it away. I just throw it away. I just throw it away. Like,
Yeah.
Happy Meal toys, which we don't have.
Oh
But
gosh, I
I
know.
literally, I throw it away by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like it just goes in the garbage. If toys are out that are just dinky little junk toys, they're just in the garbage. My kids know it. So I tell them, if you want this,
If you want this, put it
put
away.
it away.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they know.
I know. Well, and
And
they rarely ask. They rarely ask about them,
no.
Like I have thrown away. I remember because I was like, oh, they got these from their Happy Meals, they earned them or whatever. And I would keep like boxes of these Happy Meal toys. So I'd be like, oh, it's their stuff, They didn't touch it. They didn't touch it for like a year. And I just kept adding to it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore.
Like, I know I don't have exact like quotes or whatever, but I know studies show like kids have so much more fun the less they have.
Oh, I've seen it.
The less toys they have. Yeah.
I've seen it. When I really declutter, I've noticed when I start putting things away and I like, I boxed up like half their toys and I noticed they played more. Because honestly, what I see my kids, because they get overstimulated so easily, they just start dumping stuff. They just dump stuff when they have too much. So if they have like a lot less, they actually play. They're, so I'm with you 100%.
I also do the like put some toys away in bins. Like if I know we're not ready to get rid of it yet, but we just have too much right now, we rotate bins, and it is like Christmas every other month. Like I'll sit them out they're like, oh, I forgot I had this. And so kind of rotate through, and I'm like, man, I don't need to buy new toys.
No, you really don't. So you have a toy library, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
I love that. And I've been thinking about doing that, but I don't know where to store them right now because I have very little storage right now because I need to get rid of stuff. Yeah, right.
I mean, we just have bins in the garage, so I just throw them in a bin out there, but we haven't done that much lately. There was something else that came to me that now I'm forgetting. I don't know. Sorry,
it'll come back probably. So another question I have, as I've been decluttering my house, I've been trying to figure out, do you set an intention for this space that you're decluttering first, or do you figure out what you want to do with it after?
The space?
So like, let's say you're clearing out like a corner of a room that's like all cluttered. Do you set an intention for how you're going to use that space before you declutter, or when it's open?
Okay, so
does it matter?
I go about this differently.
Okay.
Before we even moved in this house that we're in now, I literally had everything already had its place. Like we walked in the house. Also, we had, a semi full of stuff, and we walked in the house and my husband's like, where does this go? Where does this go? I'm like, that goes there. This goes there. I'm like, so I know before I move in where everything goes, which is really weird. I don't know if that's normal, but I will.
What a superpower.
Every drawer, I know what goes in every drawer, and literally everything in my house does have a place. It has a spot, and it's something I can see it almost like I don't know. We knew where we were going to live like a month before, and so I knew where every piece of furniture was going. When we moved in, if something didn't fit right, then I'd be like, okay, let's try this. And like, we had a little bit of adjusting, but for the most part, it was just like, I knew.
Wow.
So literally there's no spot in my house that I don't know what it's for. And there's not really any object that we have that doesn't have like a home, like a spot for it. So that's kind of different for me. So I don't necessarily have that come up.
That's amazing. I want that superpower. I would love that.
And
so I guess, where do I put this? I just don't know. And the problem I have is I'll declutter and then I'll create space, but then I don't have a plan. I don't set boundaries for it, or I don't have a plan for it. And then it's like a vacuum. It just creates, it just sucks in more stuff in that space. And so I'm trying to be more clear about the intent, but I look at a space and it's full of clutter, I have a hard time visualizing what it's going to look like. I have to have it clear. The problem is once I have it clear, I get distracted and then it gets filled again.
I'm not surprised, Alicia. I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense for her. Like now that I'm listening, of course, this is what she's coming up against.
It's like ADHD.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, do I set the intent for the space before I declutter and then just like do my best to visualize? I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm just struggling.
Honestly, what I would do, trying to think of how, if I came in your house today, oh, this is fun for me. I really should be Marie Kondo's like sidekick.
Seriously, you should go into people's houses and be like, this space makes sense for this kind of purpose, and this space makes sense for this kind of purpose, because I don't really know. That space could be like, I'm just so stuck in the options. I can't, like,
you have a nice big house. I mean, your house is really big and there's a lot of space, and
too much.
There is a lot of space. So we've always lived in pretty compact places, so there wasn't a lot of options. But what I would do honestly is like I would declutter the stuff first and then kind of look at what you have and think of a nice way to organize it and where's most convenient for you. So yeah, have an office and all of the office stuff goes in the office. Like have, your bedroom be separate. Oh, you just moved your office into your bedroom, didn't you?
How do you know that?
I was there at your house. I helped your husband move beds.
You can't see it.
Oh,
I'm not going to show it to you. It's a mess. Yes, I'm literally sitting at a desk in my bedroom.
yeah. I wouldn't do that if it was for me. If it was me running the house, I wouldn't put your office in your room. But I get it. Like I get it. So
yeah, because we sleep in separate rooms because we keep waking each other up. So I couldn't.
And there isn't an extra office room.
No, we have a guest room, which we need a guest room.
Yeah.
And if I move the office like downstairs by like the playroom and stuff, then my baby girl gets into all my stuff. I literally have a lifty desk so that she can't reach the stuff. Like I move it up and down.
So maybe we need to do like a Zoom call after, and I'll just help you specifically with your house.
Seriously though, seriously, I didn't even know you did this. Like it's crazy how you can know someone for so long and then you're like, what? You're like gifted with this? I didn't know that. I mean, I knew that you believed in minimalism and we talked about decluttering, but I didn't know that you had this like superpower of like, oh, this space makes perfect sense for this kind of thing. And I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So when we were building our house up on the hill, we ended up selling it. It was like right at the beginning of COVID, like prices skyrocketed. We were just like, we've got to sell this house. So, but the most devastating part of that was that I had already moved in my head. I had already moved in. I knew what was going where. I knew what every drawer was for. I knew where every basket. It derailed me. Derailed me because
I pretty invested. Yeah.
So yeah, it's something I guess I didn't realize that wasn't what other people do, but yeah.
No, I don't. Well, it's not what I do. I was just like, maybe I'll figure it out. But by the time I figure it out, it's already full of clutter again. So it's a challenge. You can help me with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, because I know you're not a professional organizer. We don't want people to think that Heather is a professional organizer. She's very good at organizing, but she doesn't do it professionally. But I would say that you help people declutter their life. Yes?
Yeah. So my book, Becoming Whole, is like the little tagline is how to pick up your broken pieces and be who you were born to be. So in my book, it's really a story of my life completely shattering and like now what am I going to do? And it's a story of how I picked up my broken pieces. And when we think of being whole, um it really is very tangible. Like there are parts of us, and I go through the book in 10 categories of, our personal space. That's the very first one. I'm like, if you're going through
Yeah,
something traumatic, like don't worry about PTSD, don't worry about trying to tackle the emotions, don't worry about trying to solve this, just clean your room.
I love
And
that.
that's something I do for myself when I'm like everything's falling apart. I don't know what to do. I just clean my room. I vacuum, I change the sheets, I get the clutter out, and then I can sit and breathe, and then I can like resolve on a deeper level. So with the 10 categories, it starts with the external and
Mhm.
then move deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself. So the physical body, just cleaning up your diet, um, cleaning up your spirit, like energetically
Mhm.
aligning yourself. And then decluttering the mind, cleaning up. I do a lot of, like, I call it brain dumping, where it's like we
Mhm.
just clean up what are the thoughts that are weighing on me, what's on my shoulders, what just keeps going around like a hamster wheel.
Mhm.
And then it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the different parts of us, our talents, our relationships, so that's what the book is about. And it's really about like stepping back and seeing the whole picture of who you are and what makes you who you are. And then just like almost kind of a overhaul of like um what part of you is the most broken. Let's, heal that thing. And then with anything, if you heal, okay, so say you clean up your diet, say you're really struggling with your physical health and you clean up your diet, everything else is changed by it. So
Mhm.
you really can just pick one. And oftentimes I like to pick the one that's just struggling the worst, because it's like, let's just take care of this. This is probably the root
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah, and
So
then
I
there's a
like,
domino effect.
yeah, if you can just focus on one, and you're aware of all the other parts of you, but a lot of times they'll just pick one and focus on that for a little while. And healing your physical body, that heals your relationships. I mean, that heals
Totally.
your, yeah, I mean, it can't help it, maybe not completely, but it can really alter the amount of energy you have, the amount of patience you have, the way that you see other people. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of my jam of just like, how do you heal your life and how do you pick up all of what makes you you and bring it back into this like whole being? Because we
Totally.
we can let a lot of parts of us fall offline,
Yeah.
and
Amen.
just be like, you stay over there. Like, I don't
Mhm.
really like you. I think the one that startles most people when I think is the sexuality. When I like list that on the list, I can feel everyone like, "Ugh." And I'm like, yeah, like this is a really big part of who you are. This is something that's important. And we
Mhm.
kind of tuck it away. We act like it doesn't exist. We carry around a ton of shame around it. And so there are pieces of us that we just totally neglect, and we act like, no, that's not a part of me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I
So I'm like,
know.
bring it all online. Like, let's heal everything. Let's see it all and love it all. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I totally agree about clearing your space first before you do, and like your bedroom before you do emotional work, because it just creates a place of safety and like you're able to relax and um, you're just not as stimulated by all this other stuff. So I
Mm,
totally agree with that 100%. That's what I do as well.
yeah.
Everything else is falling apart in the house, but my room is clean, except not right now because it's an office too.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We're working on it.
you're right.
Everything in
Work in
every,
progress.
excuse me, sorry, I keep burping. I'm like trying to get words out and they're not coming out. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the idea of perfection is just like ridiculous. There's no such thing. And like um you know, I have a pile of clothes on my bed too. It's fine. I think it's just like being able to see ourselves
Mhm.
and recognize when something's like really getting sick. Like I really need to take care of you, whatever that is, whether it's your mind, your heart, whatever it is. You know, I really need to give you some love right now, and just
Mhm.
bringing kind of compassion to that. I'm really into self-compassion, you know, so
No, I didn't
bringing
know that.
yeah. We do a lot of
Yeah,
compassion.
we do.
Alicia.
Yeah, and I'm starting to come around to loving myself.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, it's like really a big job.
It is. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, so tell us a little bit about, you have a course, you have a book, you have an Instagram. So how can people find you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is my name with a period in between. So Heather.Falter, Falter. And my book is called Becoming Whole. That's on Amazon. And I have artwork as well on my website. So my website is heatherfalter.com.
Mhm.
I've been really MIA. I'm grateful for you for inviting me to be on this podcast. I know I have so much to offer, and I'm just grateful to kind of be out here a little bit more again. I've been
Yeah.
super consumed in motherhood and just soaking up the time I have while my kids are little, and gardening and just homeschooling and stuff. So I
That's
have a
good.
course, and my course is on my website. You're welcome to check that out. And then I also run like weekly, not weekly, that'd be great. Not weekly. I run cleanses. I follow the medical medium, wrote about him in my book, and just really love him. So I also host cleanses and plan to do those monthly or quarterly.
Monthly. Mhm.
So I have groups. That's where my I really right now one-on-one sessions with self-compassion is really what I'm loving doing. And then those cleanses, the physical body, I call them like becoming whole resets. And this
Ooh,
is
I
like,
love that.
yeah, so a physical body reset where we can just like, okay, let's get it like a chiropractic adjustment. Like, let's
Mhm.
reset this area. And then I plan to do like resets for the home. So decluttering resets, like
Oh,
cleanse for the
nice.
house. Or
Nice.
so I'll
I love
have
that.
those little groups where we're kind of on Marco Polo and through Zoom and stuff. So I'm really loving like one-on-one interaction and smaller group setting interactions right now.
Mhm.
If anyone's interested in any of that, just DM me and we'll connect there. So
Yeah, they can find you on Instagram most of the time, right? You're not really into
yeah.
Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, more Instagram. I haven't been posting a lot lately, but I am there. Like I'll hop on and check and see if anyone needs me. I'll post again one day, but it just seems like um I'm loving more personal interaction lately. So I haven't been.
I agree 100%. That's where I'm at too. That's where I'm at too. Ah, this was fun. Thanks for coming on. And I am looking forward to future Zooms with you for my office.
Got you.
It's a mess.
I'll probably do it in my sleep tonight and
Yeah, you
when I
probably will, right? I'll just send you pictures of it, be like, oh, Leisha, what
yeah.
are you doing with this space? This makes no
No,
sense.
there's no judgment. I just like it. I I
I
mean,
love
I
that.
don't judge people. Like people are always worried, like, oh, you're gonna judge my house, or they're like nervous to have me over. I'm
Mhm.
like, I just like it. It brings me joy. I don't care what other people's houses look like. I don't. I just like to clean.
You just like to clean them.
I love cleaning. I should have been either an interior decorator or a house cleaner or something. I mean,
Yeah,
I've got a lot of joy, so I'm sure I'm in the right place at the right time. But
yep, you absolutely are. Cleansing bodies is kind of your thing right now, and I think
yeah.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
And I'm doing that. I am doing the cleanse. I have a refrigerator full, I mean, full to the brim of celery.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the celery and like, and Rory saw all of the produce that I bought today on the counter. I mean, it's just like a giant pile of produce. He's like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I
I'm doing
love
this. I'm doing this.
produce.
He's like, really? I see this rotting. And I'm like, no, I'm doing
No,
this.
you are juicing all that, my friend.
I'm just
Start on Monday. Start
oh my
early.
gosh. For those that don't know, I hate celery. I hate it. It's probably my least favorite food. And I find it so ironic that my fridge downstairs is completely packed with like 30 stalks of celery.
Gonna love it by the end if I have anything to do with you. 32 ounces
Oh my
twice a day,
gosh.
baby.
So it's great. And only Heather could talk me into this. Only Heather could do.
Girl, I've got you. I'm
Um,
so excited about it. I can't wait.
all right. Have a good night, Heather. Thanks for coming
Okay.
on.
Love you, friend.
Mwah.